Mm.
Let's give this a go.
All right.
Hey everybody, today we got Mike the cheese lover joining us. Now, Mike, we've been knowing each other for about 15 years, I do the count. And you came to
Right.
our wedding at Lake Bled and made a gorgeous tower that was made out of cheese. But for the people that haven't met you yet, how did the cheese lover come about?
Well, I had my own cheese shop in Switzerland for many years, and I don't know if you know, Switzerland has an unofficial nickname, the land of cheese, and I was doing something very different, selling very high-end British cheese there. So I ended up in every Swiss newspaper. The media thought this was a really interesting story, and the eccentric British guy coming to teach the Swiss about cheese, and I was on TV. Brexit finally put an end to that business. That's another whole new story. And at one point, I was looking at, I was known as the cheese man over there. And I was thinking of rebranding my name slightly, calling myself something like the cheese lover or something like that. And I asked a German friend of mine, does
Yeah.
that sound good in German? Does it sort of come through in the language? And she thought about it for a moment and she smiled and she said, bearing in mind that the German word for cheese is Käse, she says, you're not the cheese lover, you're the Käsenova. And that's where it came from. So the Käsenova, then it was really fixed in there. Cheese Käsenova in German and cheese lover in English. And that's where it came from.
I always thought you saying that because you're like a Casanova because you're very charming. That's why I thought
It's
you
got nothing to do with my reputation. It's purely that I love cheese, and
right.
my customers and my guests love it as well.
Okay, awesome. So I know you do two types of tours. One is a
Yeah.
regular one, it's a walking tour. The other one is
Mhm.
a bit more of a special event that you do in a canal. So let's talk about
Mhm.
the regular one that you do. So what does a day look like for this tour?
Okay, so I do public tours. They're 3 hours. They're around about €100 each. I meet people in the centre of Amsterdam. I take them shopping for cheese. Small groups, maximum eight, usually about six. And I teach people how to spot the best cheeses, how to choose the right ones, how to make the perfect cheese board. The perfect cheese board is something I wrote myself. It's something old, something new, something stinky, something blue. So old is hard, new is soft, stinky and blue are self-evident. And we buy about five or six cheeses in total at a couple of cheese shops. We go to an old tavern, 300-year-old tavern in Amsterdam, or to a wine shop that only sells Dutch wine. They have a tasting room, or we go to a brewery and we learn all about, I teach everyone about all the different cheeses, about how they're made, why they all look, smell and taste different, how we pair them with different drinks, either with beer or with wine. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's educational, but you get a walking tour around Amsterdam as well. And it's skills that you can use in your life back home as well. So I
Mm.
teach people about how why Gouda is made like this with a round corner on it and with plastic on the outside, but yet the very best Dutch hard cheese is this one with no plastic on it and sharp corners. How every single cheese grind in the world is edible, apart from the plastic on this. Even this one, my favorite cheese in the world at the moment, made by a young Dutch girl near Utrecht. 20% of people tell me they don't like blue cheese. What they mean is they think they don't like it. And 90% of people who think they don't like it, after I've explained where the flavor of blue cheese comes from, and it's
Yeah.
never strong, it's never stinky, 90% of them say, do you know what, we get it now. And some of them vote the blue cheese is the best of the day because they're so surprised.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Right. So obviously I live in Australia, you live in Amsterdam. Do you
Yeah.
get many Aussies on your tour?
Yeah, the most I get are American Canadians. That's probably 60, 70%. But yeah, last year I had 20 or 30 Australian couples, New Zealanders as well, come over. So yeah, and what's good about Australia now is the government does allow some production and import of raw milk cheese as well. So
Oh, really?
you
I
grow,
didn't know that.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah, no,
good to know.
you're growing up in the cheese world and accepting that raw milk cheeses are safe as well as being much better.
Okay. All right, and I know over the years, Mike, you've met celebrities and really famous people, and even some royalties through your job and dealing with cheese. So, what is your most memorable experience?
Well, yeah, I was in London. I was did a year in London at Paxton Whitfield. We supplied late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles. They introduced a special blue cheese to Prince Charles's chef, and apparently he really likes it. But I think the one that really sticks with me in Zurich, my shop was in a gourmet market hall. I had a regular elderly Swiss customer would come in once a month and buy cheeses from me. There was never any chit chat. He looked very distinguished. Would only speak Swiss German. There was never any chit chat. It was all straight to business. I want 200 grams of that. One of those, thank you. you. And after about a year of selling cheese to him, he came in one day, and a Swiss friend of mine was there, and my Swiss mate says, "Mike, does Herr Leuenberger come here often?" And I said, "Who?" He says, "Mike, the old guy just bought cheese from us." I says, "Oh yeah, he comes here every month, but yeah, who is he? What, you know his name?" He said, "Mike, for God's sake, he's the only living person who's been president of Switzerland twice, and he's been buying cheese from me every month for,
You're
for
like, "Who's
a
this
year."
guy?"
And I just pretended I didn't know who he was, and I didn't, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
But the next time I did address him, it was just before Christmas, and I gave him a Christmas present of some of my own beers, and we had a nice chat. And he says, "Oh no, call me Maurice. Your cheeses are wonderful." You know, so we things like that. There are so many of those stories. I collect. You know, when people buy cheese, it's the sense of taste and smell. It ignites memories, and they just want to share things from their life. I've had really heart moving stories. There's a story on my blog, on my website, called "The Swiss Lady and the Stilton Cheesemaker." You need to read that one. It's a
okay,
Swiss lady
I
was
will.
dying, and gave me a gift that the Stilton maker gave her when she was a teenager in England many years ago. So I'm writing a book about all these different stories. It's about cheeses, but it's about the people who bought them and the stories that they told me. And the title of the book is Confessions of a Casanova. It's all the stories of a cheesemaker on this
Oh, Mike.
book. So it's all about cheese, about enjoying cheese, and it's the life of someone on this side of the cheese counter talking about the cheeses, but talking about the people on that side of the counter, about the interactions I've had with them. So I share a lot of those stories on my tours as well.
I love that because I do think it goes beyond just cheese, right? It's not just about that. It's about the memory. Like we're not just tasting cheese. We could be tasting a childhood memory, or it's like listening to music. You are
Yeah,
reliving
exactly.
your a moment in life in the
It's
past.
one of those. It's a real evocative food product. Yeah, people think about it. It reminds them of childhood. It reminds them of going to different countries. It reminds them of the grandmother of their ex-girlfriend or whatever. Little things like that ignites memories. And people talk. A friend of mine, I told him all the stories about happened in Zurich, and he says, "Mike, being a cheesemonger is just like being a hairdresser. People just tell you all their stories, and they do. I think part of it is my personality. People feel safe, confident. They want to share things about cheese and about their family with me. I sort of maybe a bit, yeah, feel a bit magnetic on that. That they
Yeah.
just want to tell these stories on there. So they're all the stories going in my book later on. But at the moment, I'm building new stories. I've got every week. I've got 5 or 6 different tours a week, and I've got some really interesting people who've been on these stories are going in the book as well.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I think we can just chat about this for, hours and hours, but let's keep some for the actual tour. Now, I will
Yeah,
link,
sure.
yeah, I will link Mike's website down below, and I'll definitely read that blog as well. And I look forward to your book one day once you get to publish it.
Once I got a bit more time to finish it, I'm at the moment I'm just really inundated with. I've got 2 new tour guides who I've trained to take over my overflow. So when I'm fully booked, you will be able to still do a tour with a Amsterdam history walking tour guide who will talk you about cheese and take you to a bar to enjoy some of the cheeses that I normally work with.
Mm. Okay, good to know. All right, thank you so much for your time.
Great, great to see
Good.
you again.
Great to see you. All right.
All
See
right,
ya.
bye now.
Bye.
Good day.